In a world-renowned courtroom case, we have Pink versus Nintendo. Who will come out on top? Who will prove their destiny? You'll find out right now. So, Pink, what is your purpose here this time? Your Honor, I would like to make an argument advocating for the crucifixion of Nintendo due to their anti-consumer practices, long history of being a snake, and in general some shady behavior.
Objection!
Nuh-uh. What? The trial hasn't even started yet. Your Honor, the prosecutor is clearly unfit for its role as it seems to clearly be biased against my client. Yeah, no, obviously, I'm the prosecutor, I'm just trying to get him hung. Silence, Pink. If you continue to act so restless, I will have you thrown out of the courtroom. What? Fine. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyone familiar with the history between Nintendo and Sony will already know this story, but in case you haven't, then oh boy, this is a good one. See, during the late 1980s, Nintendo had signed an agreement with Sony to jointly develop a CD-ROM attachment for the then popular SNES. The reason for this was because Nintendo's consoles relied upon plastic cartridges to store their games, which were inefficient in terms of storage and were hella expensive. What? Sony? You mean to tell me that Sony and Nintendo worked together? That may be true, Your Honor. However, this partnership did not last long. Yeah, I'm getting to that. However, according to the contract, Sony could make and sell CD-ROM games without buying them from Nintendo, and this was an issue as Nintendo wanted a complete monopoly on the manufacturing for its hardware. So they decided to cut off the contract and switch to working with Philips, thereby leaving Sony completely in the dust. Those greedy bastards just wanted more money. How dare you? Oh, but how could they have gone away with such an act? They didn't. Thankfully, this came back to bite them, as out of sheer spite, Sony decided to create its own console that could directly compete with Nintendo, which led to the PlayStation 1, a phenomenal piece of hardware that ended up outselling the N64 3-1. I suppose this does prove that Nintendo does have a history of being a snake. That is simply a minor part of their company's 100-year-plus history. You can't expect an event that occurred over 30 years ago to still be relevant to their reputation. You are simply grasping at straws. See, normally I would agree with you if there wasn't any recent evidence. What? There is? What? Pink, please elaborate. Of course I will. See, Nintendo is infamously known for their raging hatred towards their own fanbase, as they seem to enjoy actively purging people who even mention their company's name. Throughout the years, Nintendo has been consistently filing DMCA takedowns, Digital Millennium Copyright Act takedowns, to anyone and everyone who have anything to do with their property, ranging from fan games, using licensed Nintendo character names, to just using gameplay footage in a video. Try anything funny and you will be handed a cease and desist notice at your front door by Doug Bowser himself. Because of this, content and live streams regarding Nintendo games have been declining as nobody wants to risk losing their dogs to the overlord. This is ironic considering that these creators are literally free advertisements for the company. But I guess Nintendo would rather have a guy get a heart attack in a Donkey Kong suit instead, as that's real advertising to them. Wow, I didn't know Nintendo was so strict with their crackdowns on others. Your Honor, there is a reason for this harsh behavior. See, without strict and swift actions, the enemies of the company would easily be able to steal Nintendo's intellectual property, thereby hurting the company's employees. Cut the crap, Edwards. You're telling me that the time they sued a man $2.1 million because of a ROM site is not at all excessive, or when they forced a fan-made Pokemon game to shut down despite it not being monetized? I have to agree with Pink here. Nintendo does seem to be acting in an unreasonable manner, but surely they can at least make up for it with their own ports, no? That's the thing, they don't. And don't forget, this attitude also gets carried over onto ports. Because of Nintendo's behavior with any type of fan-made ports of their classic games, you'd expect Nintendo to make up for this behavior by at least providing their own ports for their games in order to satisfy their customers' desires and to justify their behavior. Well, turns out Nintendo does not care whatsoever about what their fans want, as the company has become well known for being incredibly stingy with what they choose to re-release. And whenever they do re-release their games, they always somehow find a way to stab their fans in the back and make it worse. As an example, in 2020, the prayers and hopes of Nintendo fans all over the world were finally answered, as the company announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, a game which was a collection of 3 older Mario games, them being Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. Now, aside from the name Super Mario 3D All-Stars being completely garbage, since it is literally just an amalgamation of random words glued together by what is probably either the world's laziest or least paid marketing team, there was a special twist added by Nintendo, a special spice thrown in to really reward the true Nintendo fans, to separate the weak from the strong, to segregate the fake fans from the true diehards. They decided to make the collection have a limited release window, meaning that it would only be possible to buy the collection for a limited amount of time. Once that was over, it would be pulled off of shelves and the Nintendo eShop. First of all, from a business perspective, why would they do this? Die-hard Nintendo fans aren't gonna buy it since they would probably already have the individual games. And then casual consumers don't care enough about Nintendo or the release date to force themselves to spend money when they might not be able to afford it in the first place, especially on 3 old Mario games. So just in general, there isn't much sense in their decision to make it limited time only, since it just doesn't benefit anyone, which means that they will be instead losing money over the long run. But business aside, just why, from a moral viewpoint? Making the collection a limited time title is just such a jerk move to everyone, as it shows that they weren't even trying to hide their greediness. They're just saying screw you to everyone just because they know they can. And this just shows that they are just snakes. They don't care about their fans, they don't care about anyone. Nintendo has the right to control when and how they release their own games. Whether or not they actually care about the customers is not our business. And besides, your arguments are a completely incoherent mess. First you talk about crucifixions, then Sony, and now some Mario games? You're just drifting through random arguments. Damn it, he's really gotten me there and I'm starting to run out of ideas. Wait a second, he mentioned drifting, why does that ring a bell? Your Honor, I got it! Yes, Pink. And then there is also the issue of Joy-Con drifts. If you guys don't know, Joy-Con drift is a issue with your Joy-Con thumbsticks in which they're being moved without your input, meaning that in a game your character will be moving around despite the fact that you are not touching your thumbsticks. Eventually, almost all Joy-Cons develop this problem, and the reason why this is such a big issue is the fact that Nintendo is aware of this problem. It has been an issue since the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's release, and people have been notifying Nintendo consistently, yet the company seems to continuously ignore their fans. And amongst other creators, there's been an investigation that shows that the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con drift issue can be solved by simply increasing the quality of the materials inside of certain pieces of the Joy-Cons. By doing this, it would fix the Joy-Con drift problems. However, Nintendo seems to not be interested in fixing the problems of their fan base, as they know that if they don't, then they can continue to charge nearly $50 for individual Joy-Cons in order to rip off their own fans and make more money. And this is even worse if you have a Nintendo Switch Lite, as this means that the entire console is essentially a brick, and that you'll have to either buy a new one or send the old one to Nintendo and hopefully get it fixed. And this leads on to the bigger issue with Nintendo. It's the fact that if you look at their history, they seem to always act like the underdog. And to be fair, it leaches onto us. We see them as being the family-friendly version of other major gaming companies. We see them as being the real ones, the ones that have been there since the beginning with us, the ones that created your childhood, the ones that have created such good memories with you and your family. However, when you truly look into Nintendo, if you truly look into their company history, they're no better than Sony, than Microsoft. They're equally greedy. They're just better at hiding it. But recently, they just haven't been putting the same effort in trying to cover up their tactics. It's clear that Nintendo does not care about us. It's clear that Nintendo does not care about their fan base, and that they just want to increase their profit margins. They just want to make more money. And at this point, there's nothing we can do about it except just stop buying their products, which we all know the true Nintendo fans, they won't be doing that, unfortunately. They're far too in, and you know, what else can they do? Their wife's boyfriend's already buying them all the gifts. They can't say no at this point. Well then, I suppose that both sides have presented enough arguments for me to make a verdict. Nintendo is declared guilty on 3 accounts of being a dick and 4 accounts of human trafficking. Let's go! It's rigged, it's false, the judge was surely drugged, I'll never forgive you! Hey, I guess I'll see you next week. Till next time, folks. Thank you very much for watching. This is Sir Pinkola here. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching the video. This was a new style using the Ace Attorney, and I want to know what you guys think. If you guys have any other ideas for the videos, you can leave them in the comments. Hopefully you comment, like, subscribe. Make sure to try to join the Discord. And honestly, I wish you guys a wonderful day. Thank you.